The fewer words a magic sword's name has, the more dangerous it is. You don't want to be on the wrong end of Dark King Grootmore's edge of annihilation. Don't get me wrong. But you for sure don't want to be on the wrong end of something called the Throngler. Sam Sykes.
You're listening to Writing Roots, brought to you by Aspen House Publishing.
Welcome to Writing Roots. I'm Lee Hull.
And I'm Lee Esses. Today we are talking about a feeling or an emotion that I think gets applied incorrectly with a lot of debut writers because they want the hero to feel special. They want them to feel unique. They want them to feel different.
They want them to be not like other girls.
When you're writing someone to feel unique, it can be a very dangerous line to tread. So that's what we're talking about today, how to do it in a way that connects with your readers instead of a way that distances them from the story itself.
Even though our quote today was talking about a sword, the idea is that sometimes simplicity is better. All people are already unique. If you are trying to add to that, then you are often shooting yourself in the foot. So embrace the simplicity of already complicated people.
If you really want to make the main character feel unique, you don't do it with the traits of the main character themselves. The main character should be something that the readers can relate to. You have to use the chorus, the tertiary characters, to show the uniqueness of your main character. They are different, they are weird in this world because of the world, not because of the person.
Having the main character align with the reader, have them be similar, share traits, be relatable, helps the reader empathize with that character instead of judging them. Anytime I have read a book where the main character is quote-unquote unique, I get annoyed at them and I judge them hard because they do things that just aren't realistic in this attempt to be unique.
This is an easy path to the Mary Sue and the Gary Stu is they're special, they're different. When really making them normal and the world weird is going to create a much better flavor in that. We were talking in writing club today, and one of the people participating had a character who was fighting against the entirety of the King's Council when the King's Council wanted to kill a bunch of people. So instead of trying to make the main character be super unique because he's the chosen one or whatever, he had an opinion that was outnumbered in the scene, but the reader would definitely share of maybe we don't kill all the people who pay our taxes.
If you do want the main character to feel unique and different from the reader, then you need to find a different emotion to lean on. A good one is loneliness, because that is something that the reader can still relate to, but helps that main character feel outsider within their own world.
How do we make them feel alone? The first thing is you give them something that no one else can do. This is especially popular for I'm the princess, or that kind of I'm the chosen one. It's difficult, but can be done well, especially if your mentor character can also kind of do it. Only Luke, of the group of friends, has access to the Force. He is the only one who can accomplish these things and defeat the Empire, because as much as we all think Han Solo should have been the hero, he doesn't have access to lightsabers and the Force.
So there is an element, a thing that only that one character can do. So it makes them unique within the world, within the setting, but is still plausible within that setting. The prophecy said Harry was the only one who could kill Voldemort, and Voldemort marked Harry, so it turned out that things happened and Harry was actually the only one who could fully defeat him. Another way to do this without the chosen one aspect is to have that character willing to go as far as necessary, much farther than anyone else would be willing to go. Kelsier is a really good example of this. He was a somewhat extreme revolt leader who is willing to die for the cause, who is willing to let other people die for the cause.
Something you have to keep in mind when you have this hero that is doing things that no one else can or will do is to make sure that your mentor character is out of the picture for the final combat. This is why it's very popular to kill mentor characters. Otherwise, Obi-Wan could have just defeated Vader and moved on.
So Luke wasn't wholly unique while Obi-Wan was still around. Once Obi-Wan was out of the picture, he was wholly unique. He was the last Jedi. You can also do this by creating a rift between them and their allies. They get into an argument with their best friend around something pivotal. We talked about this a little bit with the confession episode, where in those difficult moments, someone's going to say something, release a secret, they're going to get into a fight, and it's going to cause problems. This is one way to cause that loneliness that can make them unique within the world.
Now, there are other things besides characters that are unique that you might be wanting to make feel or look unique for your story. The first one goes back to our opener, making an object feel unique.
If it's a sword, give it a cool name. Excalibur. Or, the Throngler.
Whatever the object is, having a cool name makes it memorable to the readers, makes it so other characters can reference this as a unique item. It's not just a sword, it's Excalibur.
You can also give the sword a history. You have Narsil in The Lord of the Rings that was broken during the fight against Sauron, and it was crushed, and then Elrond agreed to have the shards of Narsil reforged into what became Anduril, and that was used then to lead the battle of the armies in the fight against Mordor once again. Nerd. Blame Tolkien, he made a history for basically everything in his books.
Absolutely. This also helps with the Indiana Jones thing of, why don't they just get another Ark of the Covenant? Well, it's got all of this history. That makes it unique. The last thing you can do in order to make an object feel unique is to associate it with a hero. It's not just any wand, it's Dumbledore's wand.
Which turned out to be the Elder Wand, which had a whole backstory and history of its own.
And a cool name. Associating the lightsaber as Obi-Wan's lightsaber, this unique item, makes it that much more special. You mostly see this in D&D, where it's the Raven God's cloak or whatever.
Aside from people and objects, you can also make places feel unique. And I think this is one where a lot of people struggle the most because it's really easy, if especially you were writing fantasy, to just throw it in generic medieval fantasy world number 50 and just have it be this medieval countryside sort of story. If you want to make your story unique, there's a couple things that you can do with the place.
Before we get into that list, I just want to say the last list of cool items, those rules also apply to a unique location. You give it a cool name, you give it a cool history, you give it a hero that's associated with that location, and it becomes memorable.
One way to make a place unique is to put it somewhere really cool. You stick it deep inside a mountain, you stick it underwater, you stick it on a floating island. A city that I recently had experience working with in the Dungeons and Dragons world is a really cool place where the whole city is built on this giant plateau, and they've built a whole city into it. It's this very vertical city, so one of the hazards is drunk people falling off bridges and crushing people down below.
Another way to make a place feel unique is to make sure the government is interesting. Not just, oh, there's a king. Okay, sure. It's a democratic republic? Little better. If you have it as a technocracy, where the technology rules the day, or you have this weird god that rules over and protects the city, but also says you can't use quarters or pennies on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and you can't use dimes and nickels on Tuesdays and Thursdays. It's like, okay, this is weird, it's unique, it's memorable.
You can play a lot with this kind of leadership, with the culture, with the ideas of certain places and how they view the world. This goes into a lot of our world building. If you want a deeper dive into that, we've got lots of episodes on it. But another way to make a place unique is to give it a relic, a historical or theological object. What comes to mind is like Stonehenge, so it's not exactly an object, but it is a collection of things in a place that draws a lot of attention, that brings people there, that has a significance to history.
In He Who Fights with Monsters, there are places where water brings magic into the world. This cool bit of treasure hunting that brings the characters there will help make that location unique and interesting so that when they reference it 7 books from now, we still know what we're talking about.
Whether it is a person, a place, or an object, the most important piece of making something unique is to make it unique within the world. Stop trying so hard to make it unique compared to other writers or settings or whatever. Make it against the things within the world. The person is unique because they are different from the people in the world. The object is unique because there is only one magical sword, and it is Excalibur.
And I'm going to wrap this up with probably one of my favorite rules in especially fantasy writing, and that is the rule of cool. Doesn't matter if it makes a whole lot of sense. Have a blast creating this thing. Characters interacting with the thing, arguing with the thing, disagreeing with how the weird god runs the city. Just make it funny. If you follow the rule of cool, you can have a great book, especially when you
write selfishly.
If you have a question or comment for our hosts or a topic you'd like us to cover, send us an email at writingroots@aspenhousepublishing.com or find us on Facebook by searching for Aspen House Publishing.